Starting an AI business and earning a full income online has literally never been easier. And in this video, I'm going to cover absolutely everything that you need to know, which will take you from what is AI automation to building your first agent, how to sell these, what niches to select, and finally how you can start earning a real income from doing this. AI is all around us, and you've probably used things like ChatGPT to do certain tasks for you, and you've realized the actual power that this has. So, why don't you take it a step further and actually monetize these skills and use it to businesses? And you can literally do this without any coding, previous AI knowledge, or business experience. But I'm not going to ramble on any further. What I've got in front of you here is a full roadmap, A to Z, that will take you from what is AI automation, designing your first automations, things that you can sell to businesses, and how you can actually scale to £10,000 per month. The goal of this is to leave this video knowing exactly what you need to do next to land your first client with AI automation. This video is packed with information. It includes all the stumbling blocks that I had when I first started, and it'll also give you certain tips that you need to know before jumping into this. So let's have a look. Firstly, let's have a look at what we're actually going to cover here. So who is this for? This is for complete beginners with absolutely no AI automation experience. You may not even know what AI automation is, or it's for those that have heard a bit about AI automation. Possibly you've looked at videos before, or you might have even created one yourself, but you're struggling to actually close that client or select the niche, know what businesses actually want. If you are any of these two, then this video is for you. Let's have a look at what you're going to learn in this then. Over the course of this full video, I want you to walk away knowing exactly what to sell to businesses, how to pick your niche, automations that every business needs in my opinion, and how you can land that first client. Essentially, throughout this video, I'm going to take you to a point where you're really confused about AI all the way to making your first sale. And in this video, I'm going to give you a promise. And by the end of it, after we've built some automations, you're going to know exactly how to sell to businesses. Aside from the actual automations, which we will get into, I'm going to show you how to find leads, how to outreach to these leads, how to generate an offer, what to do on sales calls, and then finally taking payment. But why this really matters right now. We're going to go into this in a bit more detail, but businesses are paying anywhere between $500 to $5,000 per automation because they actually need this stuff right now. And this is going to increase exponentially to 10,000, 15, 20,000. And this isn't a side hustle just to get some extra cash, even though that's what I thought when I first started. This is an actual business model that is high in demand right now. So learning these skills while you can, while you have the time now, is going to set you up. Let's go into a couple of things that you might be thinking right now. Do you need to be a tech whiz? No. Do you need to have coding experience? No. Does your age matter? No. Do you need to have previous experience in business? No. This video is going to cover all of this. When I first started out, I didn't have a clue what coding was. I didn't know how to build AI automations. I didn't even know what AI automations was. I needed a video exactly like this that would give me exact steps on how to start an AI business, how to sell it to people, and how to create a brand around it. And that's what it's going to cover here. But before we jump into it, I'm going to give you a bit of accreditation as to why I actually know what I'm talking about. So who I am and a bit about me. I started to learn automation because I noticed two certain things. Number one, the opportunity of developing a skill that is highly in demand. And number two, the absolute sheer demand of businesses who need systems like this in their everyday life. My story started like this. It was very slow when I first got going. I was very confused and I was really challenged because there's certain content that was available and I never really knew what to go in a certain direction. There was nothing that could really take me from A to Z that would make me aware of everything that I need to know within this space. And it is hard. Because you may have different things around you, hearing different software names, different APIs, whatever it may be, just don't worry about it. So that's what this is for. And now I'm creating AI automations for businesses and I want to help others learn to do exactly the same. I started off wanting to get an extra £500 a month just for a bit of money on the side so I can go on holidays and stuff. And I wanted to sustain that. So £500 every month sounded quite nice. But you will soon realise that this is solving real problems for real businesses. You're not offering them because you want to make a bit of money. You're a business helping another business. And because you have this high valued skill that everyone needs, they're going to pay you handsomely for it. I've had clients and projects now all around the world in the UK, Europe and the USA. This creating personalised automations and there is really no limit or ceiling to what you can achieve. So you've heard a bit about me and what this can do. So let's jump straight into it. So the automation landscape looks a little bit like this. AI is a technology that lets computers learn patterns from data and make decisions or predictions. For example, when you go onto Netflix, a tab comes up showing your recommended things to watch. That's using AI to judge things that you might like based off your previous watch history, view time on certain films, search history, whatever it may be. That is leveraging the power of AI to appeal to you. Other things could be Amazon Alexa or your Google Nest. These sort of speakers that you have in your home which you can talk to, and they'll present you outcomes and answers to your questions really fast. That's using AI. Then moving on to what is automation. Automation is essentially when tasks are done automatically by machines or software instead of people. So think of it like this. You have a robot which is mowing your lawn. You give it a predetermined landscape to cut across and it will just do it. That's automatic working. Or certain things like out of office emails. Before you go on holiday, you will set a preference to show that you're not going to be available between certain dates, and when someone emails you, an automated message responds back to them to show that you're not available. So when you combine this, you get AI automation, and you essentially get AI that does tasks automatically to replace what humans used to do. This is usually repetitive manual tasks. So let's have a look at a couple of business cases. If you get auto-responding customer emails which happen 24/7, that's a form of AI automation. Qualifying leads at scale to see if they're actually fit for your purpose, that's using AI automation. Appointment scheduling, that's using AI automation. You may know that in person at the minute where actual humans are messaging people to set appointments for businesses. You can do this with AI using things like chatbots, for example, and then things like instant data entry. Currently, you might have humans, I bet you know loads, that are doing manual repetitive tasks, filling out Google or Excel sheets. This can all be done by AI. But let's think about businesses in this case. Businesses need AI automation and they need it now. There's more and more articles that are being produced every single day to make businesses aware of this, and this is only going to grow further. This right here on the screen is what we call a bell curve, and it's essentially showing you how the AI trajectory goes. You can use this for any sort of topic, but I'm going to use this for what we have here. You have innovators at the start, which are the people that create AI. They learn the code, things like ChatGPT. You then have the early adopters, which are people the first on the scene, essentially like the big boom when SMS or emailing came out. And then you have the early majority, and this is where we are. We're just sitting at the top behind this little peak here. And this is really important for you to know, because you are early onto this. But this is why you need to learn the skills now, and you need to learn it fast. If you start learning this in the end of this curve here, where you get the late majority and the laggards, you're not going to be able to utilize the space as much as you want. So let's have a look at why businesses actually need all of this. So if they're not using it now, then why do they need to? If they have operated for so long, why do they need to start using AI? And this might be a couple of questions that businesses will ask you when you come to doing your outreach. You know, we've done this task for years on our own, so why do we need to use AI? Well, it's because they don't realise what they're missing out on. So moving on from this then, why do actually businesses need this? You may be thinking, well, they've done these tasks before, so if they're doing them manually before, why do they need to use AI now? And that's something that you may hear on sales calls, for example. People say to you, well, you know, So you may be thinking now, why do businesses actually need this? And if they're not using it now, why do they need to? They've done these manual tasks for the past 20 years, so why should they implement AI now? Well, let's have a look at something. 15 to 20% of businesses have implemented some form of AI automation. That is a huge number of businesses when you think of the millions and millions of companies in the world. But this is still only just scraping the surface. And this goes back to why you're an early adopter of this and an early majority of getting. And this goes back to why you're an early majority into this AI space and why if you offer your services now to businesses, they're going to pay you a lot of money. This gap between the businesses that aren't using it and the businesses that are is exponentially increasing. And that's clear. It's happening day by day as technology develops and more automations are being released, which boils down to this. The quicker that you get involved and develop these skills, the more opportunities you will have. You'll become clever in the space, you'll know more skills, you'll have better terminology, you'll have more experience with different companies. So if you learn this now, the people that aren't using it and may learn in a year's time or 6 months, for example, the gap between you and them is going to be huge. And eventually the majority of businesses will have, or at least tried, some form of AI automation throughout their operations. So that 15 to 20% is going to grow massively. Because they're still too busy to learn this, this is your chance. You may be asking yourself the question now, well, if I can do it, why don't businesses? These businesses don't have the time and effort to learn these AI automations, which is where you and I come in. So this is the financial opportunity that is involved with this right now. An AI automation business isn't a side hustle, and it's something that I thought was initially, which is why I wanted that £500 a month. you'll soon realize that this is not a side hustle and this is an actual business model that works. You're not going to be getting paid £500 per job that you're going to be doing. You're only getting paid anywhere between 1,000 to 10,000. So that first sale is going to be massive for you. You're solving real problems for real businesses here. And these skills are in high demand. In fact, they're higher than ever. And businesses will very rarely create automations themselves, so they're going to pay you a lot of money to do it for them. But why do companies actually pay thousands? And we've sort of covered this already, but it's because of the demand and the return of investment for them. If you show that this automation saves them money, or it gets them more leads, it improves their operational functions, or it saves them time, then they're going to pay you whatever they can, because for them, this is a no-brainer. Because if everyone had the skills to do this, then automations would be extremely cheap, because businesses will just look for the cheapest person. There isn't that aspect right now, which is why doing this is so important. If we go up to the topic then, into our next section, we're going to say why you should act now. And then after this, we're going to get into actually creating your first automations. So businesses are aware of what this is, but they may not have implemented it yet. So that means they may know certain things about automations, or their friends implemented some sort of automation, but they just haven't took that final step in actually implementing it into their business. The skills needed are easily attainable. Like we said, you don't need to code, you don't have previous business experience, you don't even need to learn AI. All these things that we use is no-code software, but not many people have them still. Also, the price per job is exponentially increasing. This is why you should act now. What people used to sell was things like chatbots, for example, and they would sell it for, say, £500 per month, or with initial setup fee. Now you're creating personalized automations or voice agents like AI receptionists, or something that can actually help a business's workflow by doing operations faster. And you're charging anywhere from, say, £2,000 to £10,000 for this. Imagine you land one client, which is £10,000, and that is your £10,000 per month goal. And this price per job is exponentially increasing, and it's going to continue like this for a while. And you can learn these skills in days. In fact, by the end of this video, you're going to know basically everything that you need to about this. So let's look at the tools that you're going to use. As you can see here, we're getting slowly onto what you can sell and how you can actually start creating automations, which we've got down here. So let's have a look at the tech stack. You may have heard this word before, but it's essentially just what you're going to use. Are you going to be using ChatGPT, or are you going to be using Claude, or whatever it is that you're going to be using? This is your tech stack. Don't get confused by it. It's a fancy word to show what softwares you're going to be using. Now, there's three sort of main automation no-code softwares which you can use. There's Zapier, which is really beginner friendly. It's an easy interface to use, and it's limited functionality, which means you're probably not going to get the power to do all the things that you want to. The scope of this is relatively limited, but it is a good software to start on. Then you have Make.com. This is understandable to use, and there's a much higher functionality over Zapier. Following on from this, you then get N8N, which is slightly more complex to use, but it is a higher functionality as well. I'm not going to dive into this too much because we're going to be using Make.com and N8N for our tutorials that we're going to do. So let's have a look at some of the common questions that you might be thinking. What automation software is best to use? Or what should I start on? But really there is no right or wrong software to be using. So this is up to you, and it's what you feel comfortable with. In my opinion, you'll eventually get experience with both Make.com and N8N, and you'll feel pretty comfortable with the both. But it boils down to this. Businesses don't care what softwares you're going to use. They're never going to turn around on a call to you and say, oh, are you using this software to create it? Of course they're not, because they don't care. All they care is the results that you're going to get them. So it's really whatever you feel comfortable with. And you'll slowly find this out based on the tutorials that we do and further automations that you create. You also might be thinking this, do I need to code or be a tech whiz? We've covered this, and the answer is no. These softwares that I've just mentioned are no code or even low code tools, which means you don't need to learn how to code to use them, but there is coding elements if you want to. And if you did want to do that, then ChatGPT or Claude or Manus, whatever it may be, is your best friend here. All you have to do is type in the problem that you get, and they will give you the code for it. So let's have a look at niches now. And this is really important because it's going to be which service that you're targeting to offer your solutions. You have a load of niches around. These are absolutely everywhere. You have things like fitness, construction, plumbers, SMMA, real estate, automotive sales, recruitment, solar, marketing, med spas, and these are literally just a handful of the businesses that you're going to target. But I want to tell you now why this matters. If you pick the wrong niche, for example, and this doesn't have a high revenue, then they're not likely to invest in something large for what you're offering them. If they're only turning over, say, £1,000 per month in this niche that you've selected, then they're not going to be wanting to charge anywhere between 2 to 5k for something, are they? And also, you want to think about the size of this niche. How many different companies are there to be able to do this for? If there's only, say, 2,000 or 1,000 companies like this in the UK, for example, then you're very limited to who you can target. And if you send bad outreach messages to them, then you could burn through these companies straight away. So, which niches should you pick? Now, there is no right or wrong, but based on the past 2 points that I've said, these should help you with deciding what to pick. It may help if you're already familiar within a niche. For example, your full-time job might be to do with solar or fitness or construction or anything like that. You may have an e-commerce business in the past, which you know that has certain problems with that you could automate. If you already have that pre-knowledge or pre-experience, then it might be a really good route to pick because you're perfect to know on that subject. The main thing that you want to do is understand what pain points that niche has. And it's something when I started, I was really struggling because I didn't really understand what it was. But that's because I didn't know the niche that I was targeting. Once you know the niche and you understand it, you can think of the pain points that these have. And that is essentially everyday struggles or frustration with this business that you can help them with. If you target this pain point and you create a solution that solves that pain point, then businesses will pay you for it. So let's have a look at certain pain points. A real one example for me is pain point of cooking food is that I have to wash up after it. I have to do it. So for example, a business has to do something, but the pain point of that is that I need to wash up. The pain point of a real estate agency is that they struggle with good quality leads. An e-commerce business, for example, is that they have a load of abandoned carts, which is when people add stuff to their basket and then they go off the website, or they don't have good quality leads. Pain point of an accounting firm is the manual data entry and the chasing of clients for documents. A pain point of food service companies or pubs and restaurants is the lack of reviews on Google that they receive. A pain point of beauty salons or barbers is the slow replies to DMs or the lack of follow-up after they've provided their service. Hotels and Airbnbs, they have repetitive questions from clients that they have to answer. So hopefully now you're starting to understand a bit about what these pain points are for different niches. Obviously the pain points, there's going to be vast, there's going to be loads of them, and it's your job to sort of pick these out. So here's some tips when selecting your niche. Niches with repetition will have lots to automate. So if they're dealing with inquiries, bookings, reminders, follow-ups, these repetitive tasks can all be automated. If you have prior experience or lots of knowledge about a niche, you're likely going to know some inside information that can really target this pain point. High lead volume niches are good because they're likely to get lots of messages, and you've got to think who's replying to these. They're either not replying to them at all, or they've actually got a human which is taking care of all of these. Imagine someone is spending 1 minute to reply to each message. That's a lot of time throughout the week. And finally, you have to make sure that the cash that they would spend. If you ask a UGC creator to create them a content pipeline, but they're only making £1,000 per month, you're really limiting your service that you can offer because they're not really going to pay much more than that, are they? So the next one up here is what you can sell. There is no best thing to sell, shall we say, because all niches are different and have different pain points. But here's some examples that could work really well for businesses. You can create an AI email responder which would automatically reply to common questions. A lead qualifier. Think about the vast majority of businesses that want to scrape leads off the internet, but 60 or 70% of these are not the people they want. You can qualify these leads for businesses so that they know exactly who they're receiving is an ideal client to them. You can have appointment setters like we've just said. Social media content repurposing so that businesses, once they post on Instagram, it also posts to TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, without them even having to lift a finger. You can also do things like data entry automation. So for example, spreadsheet filling in or CRM updates. These things would usually take a lot of time by a human, but you can automate it all. And these work because businesses understand these problems and they know how much they would help. And it all boils down to pain points. Now we're going to look at some first automations which you can create. And this is probably the point that you've been waiting for. But first, let's look at some key advice. Something that I really struggled with at the start was draining my time to automations. And it is really fun because you can actually see something work that you've created, and it's very fulfilling. You've thought of an idea, you've gone out to create it, and you can see it work. But you could have the best automation in the world on the market, and if no one sees it, what is the point? You may have this beautiful automation which solves a really good pain point for a business, But if you can't get it in the hands of that business, then what is the point? You have the skill, so you need to offer it to these people. So my advice is build some automations, get confidence in the systems and capabilities, and then focus on your outreach. So let's have a look at building our first automation. So what we're going to do now is actually create your first automation. So you see up here, what we're going to do is create a simple chatbot using N8N. And we spoke about previously what N8N is. We're going to do N8N and Make for both examples, but for this one, we're going to start with N8N. And what you're going to need for this is an N8N login, so just like a login account for N8N, and then a Twilio account and connection to OpenAI. Basically, we'll talk about what a Twilio account is, but for now, let's just go to N8N. It's going to look something like this. I've created a brand new account, so I can literally show you all the steps that you'll receive as you go through. And what you're going to do once you're in your dashboard is create workflow. And what you will do, you'll get an option here for add first steps or build with AI. And essentially what you want to do is add your first step. So when you do click something on here, you're going to get a dashboard or like tabs that come up on the right, and it's going to come up with loads of apps that you can use. So I can type in Google Sheets, for example, or Google Drive. It will come up with all the things that I can do within N8N and the apps that you can use. But for this example, we're going to use Twilio. So if you click on Twilio, there's going to be a drop down. Oh, I don't mean to do that. I meant to type Twilio. If you click on Twilio, there's going to be a drop down with all the different things that you can do. So on new SMS, on new call, and these are triggers. So essentially what that means is the automation will trigger once a new SMS is received or a new call is received. For this, we want to do on new SMS, and it's going to take you to this, and you're going to get pretty familiar with what these sort of pop-up windows look like. And it's asking us to select a credential. So what you want to do is go to your Twilio. And Twilio essentially is a software where you can buy phone numbers, and these are really useful for things like this when you don't want to be using your own sort of personal number. So we go over to Twilio, and once you've logged in, you're going to get something that looks like this. So on the left, you've got a drop down of your phone numbers, your messaging, all this different stuff. I actually do have an account, but you will have a trial account and you'll have £10 assigned to it, which is more than enough for what you want to do. So if you hit phone numbers on the left here, you can see active numbers. And for me, I've already got a phone number in here because obviously I've bought Twilio numbers before. But for ones where you actually want to buy one, obviously you're not going to have a number. All you want to do is press buy. So go to active numbers or buy a number, and you can get one here. You can go through active numbers and click buy number. It's the same way, whatever you want to do. It's just going to take you to this page here. Then at the top, you're going to have the country you're in. So I'm going to put United Kingdom because that's where I am. United Kingdom. And then you're going to get the capabilities up here to show what you want this number to do. For this, I don't want voice or fax or MMS, I just want SMS. So if we search for that, it's going to give you a load of numbers which are available that you can buy right now that are capable of doing SMS. And as you can see on the right here, they're extremely cheap. So the £10 trial that you get with Twilio will cover this sufficiently. Obviously, you can buy more than 10 numbers from doing this. If you wanted to get this one, for example, just click on it, buy. And you're going to get this here. So what you want to click from there is next. You're going to get something like this that pops up. It will say, do you want to do business or individual? You're going to click individual. Once you're on individual then, you're going to get something like this, which is going to tell you a bit about your Twilio account. Obviously, I already have a regulatory bundle set up because I've used this before. But for you, you're going to want to create your own. And it will essentially take you to a load of different things here, which is going to basically ask you some personal information about where you are, what you're using this for. It's really simple. It'll take a couple of minutes to set up. I'm not going to do it on this because I don't want to waste time on the video, but there's plenty of resources on there if you want to look at that. After that, it will appear in this active numbers section here, which is essentially the numbers that you own. And you're going to have a webhook. And what a webhook is essentially is something that you can call from your automation to access something else. So your active number will appear here, and what you want to do is click on it like that, and you're going to be taken to a configure tab. And what this does is configures the number for what you want to use it for. I bought a voice and message one, so I'm not too fussed about voice for this, so let's go to message. And you can see the webhooks here. Now, what we want to do once you're at this point is go back to your automation, and we're actually going to continue with where we were going. So you've had an introduction to Twilio. Now let's take a look at what you can do for the rest of this automation. So we want to add the plus button there to add the next node, and we want to put an AI agent in there. Once your AI agent is in here, there's going to be a couple of nodes that come off of this, and that is going to be your chat model, your memory, and your tool. So hit chat model, and this is going to select which AI you're going to be using. So there's all sorts on here. There's Perplexity, there's OpenAI, there's absolutely all sorts. We're going to be using OpenAI for this. So once you click on it, it will take you to this. This is the tab that we saw earlier, but this time for OpenAI. And it's going to want you to connect your OpenAI account. I think mine is already done. It has done. So I have used this earlier. But what you want to do is create a new credential, and you want to add your API key. And this is literally all you need to do. So what you would do for this is type in onto Google OpenAI API key, and this will take you to your ChatGPT account. And all you have to do is copy and paste your API key into this search box here. Once you've done that, you can save, and you'll get a successful connection to your OpenAI account. Once that's done, we can head off of this, and you'll start to see that that has been added there on the bottom. The memory, essentially what this does is stores the conversations that you've had with the AI agent. So every time you message it, it remembers what you've said previously. And for this instance, we're just going to use simple memory. Head off that there, so that's been selected. So we've got simple memory here. Then to finish this automation, what you're going to do is add a plus button here. We want to go back onto Twilio because we want to be able to receive a message again. So click Twilio, not Twilight, click Twilio, and we're going to want it to send an SMS to us. So we click on that, and it will take us to our credentials again. So now it's time to set up the credentials, and we'll do that from the start over here. So click on your Twilio trigger, double click, and select your credential. On the credential, what is going to ask for is for you to create something using account SSID and an auth token. So head over to your Twilio tab, and what you want to do is your account dashboard. On your account dashboard, you're going to get this exact information that it has asked for. So scroll down a bit, and you're going to get your account info. You want to get your account SID and your auth token here. What you want to do, copy and paste both of these into the automation, and it will connect. So now I've added both of those in. That's all you have to do, and just hit save from there, and you can see that credentials have successfully been saved. Before we go any further then, we have still got one more thing to do at this step, and that is your webhook URL. You can see at the top here you have test URL and production, which essentially means the instances that you're going to be using. You have different URLs for different productions or tests, and for what we're going to do on this, we're going to use test URL. So you want to copy this URL, head back over to your number on Twilio, so active numbers, click on the number and go down to the bottom, and you can see here this has got your URL. So we want to double click on this and copy the new webhook in. Save that configuration, and that is now linked to your NA10 workspace. What we want to do once we got to this is just test to see if this works. So if we press the play button, as you can see, it's executing the workflow and it's waiting for the trigger event. So if you go over to your messaging platform on your phone, if it's iPhone or Samsung, whatever it is, and you type in a message there, you can see I've already spoken to mine because it's a number I've used before, but I just type in hey, for example, and we go back over to the workflow, and I press, so that you can see, hey, and I press send. You can see then that that executes the workflow there. So it's received its message and it's done that bit there. So if you go into your AI agent now by double clicking it, you can see over here that you've got a load of data based off what's just happened at that previous node. So you can see the message SSID, you can see the body of the text. So I sent hey, you can see who it was to and who it was from. Now what we're going to do is use the AI essentially to be able to respond to these messages. So if we go on to source or prompt, which is in the center here, and we go on define below, we can use the body of the text that we've just received to use as the input for the ChatGPT message. So what we're going to do is get the body of the tab here, click on it, and you can drag it into the box there. and it will turn green. So it's saying here that what it's using is the JSON code of the body text, which was hey. If we go off that now, and we can go on to simple memory, which is here, we essentially want to give it some information about the previous history of messages. So again, we go on define below, and we go on the key, which is our message SID. Add in there. There you go. And we can head off that. And then from there, we've just got one more step to do, which is respond to the message. So the first node receives the message that we sent. The AI agent crafts a response. And then what we have here is the actual message that it's going to send back. So you can double click on this, but what we need to do first, obviously, is run this node. So if we click run there, it's taking the answer from here and completing the function with that in this node here. We have one more thing to do now, that is run, and that is sending the message back to us. So what you want to do, the from message, so who this message is being sent from, well, that's your active number that you had up here. So go on to that, copy it and hit it over here. The to message, so who you're sending to, well, it's going to be the person that initially sent the message to you, which was me. So that is over here. And then the message you want to send to this number, so if you click on the drop down up here, the AI agent, so what the output was there, which is that. So get off that. And then essentially all you have to do is close this, and you can execute that workflow, and you will see that I have had a message from this which says the same thing. So, hey, how can I assist you today? So that's a really easy chatbot that you've just created. This is a chatbot. You're using AI to craft the response, and you're sending that back to someone. Obviously, this is just a conversation between myself and the AI agent, but you can see how you can expand this, and you can actually give it prompts to say things like, for example, tell me a joke, or what time is your business available to today? You can see this is one simple automation that you can create and actually sell to a business. So we've seen now how you can create your basic chatbot. Now we're going to show how you can do a form submission and update that to a data sheet and send an email. Again, this one's really simple, but we're going to show you how it works. So this time we're going to do it in make.com. So if you just type in make.com, create an account, you get free credits at the start, really simple to use, and create your scenario. So there'll be a big purple button and it will say create scenario. So this is where you get to change it. So we'll say form submission up here, which is what we've called it previously. And it's the same as what we had previously with a big sort of plus button in the middle. So the same as NA10. Make.com, as you can see, is a bit more colourful. It's not sort of black and white. But what we want to do is essentially, you may be a business and on your website you have a form which, for example, leads can fill out. Every time this form gets submitted, naturally, in a business that isn't using AI automation, they would receive the form, the person would look over it, update a CRM or a spreadsheet, and that would take them probably 5 minutes per lead. Imagine if this business is getting 100 leads, that's 500 minutes or a couple of hours. So what we want to do is receive some results from a form. So if you type in Tally, so we're going to use Tally, you can use other form builders. I'll just use Tally because it's pretty simple to use. And you want to watch for new responses. As you can see, it opens up this text box like it did with NA10, and you want to choose a hook. So what we're going to do is go on to Tally. So if you type in on Google Tally form, it's called a free online form builder. You can see previous things that I've used for examples with people, and click new form, which is here. You're going to be given something like this. So we're going to call this form submission example. And what you're going to have is a load of things that you can do on this form. So let's start it from scratch. And if you hit /, it's going to be a drop down of things that you can use. So for example, short answer, we'll put what is your name? And they will fill that in this box here. The next one we'll do is what is your email? What is your email? Best do my punctuation properly here. And maybe something like, what is your phone number if you ever want to have to contact them, this lead. You can imagine putting things like, but you can imagine putting things such as, what is your LinkedIn? What is your previous business experience? Why do you want to join us, for example? And then once you've got something like this, you want to publish this. So once I've published, I'll get a copy to it. I can copy that in and then paste that up here, and it will take me to the form. Imagine this is on someone's website. Obviously this is just a blank URL with the form, but all you have to do from here is click on this and add your Tally account. And it's really simple to do this. So all you have to do is connect your Tally account. So if you logged up with a Google account, just connect your Google account, and you can add your connection type here. If you want to do a personal API key, then your API key would be over here. So here's your dashboard. This is where your dashboard is. Hit settings over here and you'll get API keys there. So what we will do now then is we'll go off that. There's our form, and we want to create our form ID. So once you've created your form, you'll have a drop down here. It's really simple with everything that you have created on Tally. So mine was called form submission example. Save that. This will load, and then it's been added to here. So you can save, and that little one that was there before has now been disappeared. Now what we want to do, so if you're a business, once someone submits this form, you want to upload all of this data to a data sheet, for example. So if we head to Google Sheets, I've already got mine set up here, but we can see, for example, call it Tally form, we can create entries for this form. So our headings would be name, which is what we used, I think. So we did name, email, number. That's all you need to do for this. And these are essentially the headings that you're creating. So you can make them in bold, do whatever you want, but this is essentially what you'll be using to transfer all of that data into. Now what we want to do next is add a new module. So what we're going to do, add a new module, and we're going to select Google Sheets. You can see all the apps down here that Make.com uses. Your most recent ones will be at the top here. So Google Sheets, and you get a load of different things that you can do. So add a row, update a row, search a row, loads of different things that you can use which will be really useful to you. But we want to add a row. So we click on add a row, and before we go any further, let's go to Google Sheets. So this is my Google Sheets that I've created. I've just called it Tally form example, and I've just put some headings here, which is name, email, and number. And you'll see that this relates to essentially what was on the form. Obviously, you would have more things like this. If you're a business, you might want the LinkedIn, for example, as we've said, the websites, all these different things that would be useful to them. So head back to your automation, click on your Google Sheets, and you'll want to connect your Sheets account. So as you can see, I've connected a couple of accounts there before, but for you, you'll want to click add. And after that, you can name your Google connection. So you might want to name it the email that you've created it with, and then all you have to do is sign in with Google. So it's really simple, really straightforward. It will connect it all automatically based off the email that you select, and from there you'll be left with a successful connection here. Now we want to connect the form. Now we want to connect the Google Sheets. So we have the data received from Tally. Now we want to update it into our Google Sheets. And if you click Spreadsheet ID, it will come up with all the different IDs of spreadsheets that you've created under this Google account. It's in alphabetical order. Mine was called Tally form example. Then the sheet name, which I've just left as sheet 1, which is what it was. Does the table contain headers? Yes, it does. And we created the headers here. So what you want to do now is it's really simple. Just like with N10, it gives you the list of responses from the previous nodes, and you want to select the answers. So in the name column, we want to have what is your name. In the email, we want what was your email, and the number, what was your phone number. Then we can save that, and actually we could run this. But first I want to show you that this works just with 2 simple nodes that we've made here. So let's run this once. Once it's running, it's going to start searching for these new responses. So if we go over to our form, I'll just say sam at gmail, let's say, mail.com, and phone number 07 ... whatever it would be. We submit that form there, and you can see back over to the automation, you've got ticks everywhere here. And it happened that quick. By the time I submitted the form and headed back to the automation, it was already finished. So if we head over to our form, we can see here that it's updated it with the stuff that I've used on the form. So my name, my email, my phone number. Just like that, this is how useful it can be to businesses. Obviously, it's just my information. There's nothing fancy about this, or you can't really do much with it, but that's how useful it is. Then what you want to do, for example, is if you wanted to craft something after this, you can take this a step further and maybe send someone an email to show that someone's completed this. So let's, for example, add something here, and we want to use a Gmail, for example. We've used Google Sheets, so let's use a Gmail. And you can see all these different things that you can do with Gmail. But we want to send an email. And let's, for example, send an email to someone who is in the business. So let's see here. Let's send it using my account. Yeah, that's already done. And we want to add a recipient's email address. Now, say it is myself, for example, on my same email account. So let's do email to email, same account, just for the sake of this. But in practice, this could be, for example, someone that works in the business. And we'll call the subject new form submission. Body will do a collection of contents. So the body contents is going to be here. So what we'll do, in the text bit, we're going to say, hello, you have a new form submission from, and if we want here, we can actually use the name. So we can just say here, we have a new form submission from Sam. That's all we need to put. Just for example, someone submits a form and you want the employee at work to realise that their new form has been submitted. So that's all you have to do for that. So we click save. You can see there that that's added that there. You can see these double ticks that there is, which means this automation has been run, and you can actually see the data there. So for example, the output of this Google Sheets was it updated sheet number 1, row number 2, and with these other things, it did columns A1 to C1, for example. Now let's have a look at doing this again and seeing how an email might work from this. So if we go back over to Tally, I think, was it saved? Yes, it was. So we go back over to Tally and we want to submit this again, but this time receive an email. So we'll run this. As it's running, we'll do something like Jess, and it'll be jess@gmail or Outlook, for example, whatever you want to do it. And it was 07, whatever it was. And we'll submit that. And as you can see here, it's going to submit that form, add it to the Google Sheets, and then send the email. So we go over to the Google Sheets. As you can see, it's added there. And if I just go over to my email, you can see here then that I've received this email. So this is my email. Obviously, it's from myself, but it's literally just done what we've asked it to. So hello, you have a new form submission from Jess. And we didn't put Jess. Obviously, we used in here the dynamic changing of variables. So as you can see, we wanted to use the field name that was submitted in Tally. And that's how simple it is. That's a really simple workflow that could be really useful to someone. Obviously, you're not going to be selling this for high ticket, but for the sake of this video, I just want to show you how automation works. Really simple. A form gets submitted on a website. It gets updated in some sort of database or spreadsheet, and then an email gets sent to someone. This hasn't even included AI in this example, but you can imagine how it could work. You could use AI to then generate a personalized message to this person that filled out the form to say, hey, thanks for submitting this, we'll get back to you soon. We love that you worked for XYZ company previously. This is how powerful AI is. We'll get back on with the video because I know it's long, but hopefully this has shown you the automations that you can make using N8N and Make.com. So now we've built your first couple of automations, even though they were really simple, let's have a look at how you can get this in the hands of businesses. And we're going to look at building your offer. So by now you've identified your pain points, but these pain points in this certain niche is going to drive the offer that you want. So don't overcomplicate it with fancy words. It should be concise and easily understandable to the business you are targeting. And the point of this is to keep it simple. You want the offer to be concise and simple so the business knows exactly what you are offering them. You've probably heard of certain formats on how to propose this, but a basic one you can use is we help X do Y by Z. Essentially what this would mean is showing how you can help them, what it will do for them, and how it will do it. So for example, we help tradespeople win more local jobs by booking new inquiries on autopilot. Think about what I've just said there. There's no fancy words. There's nothing that they're not going to understand, and it targets a pain point that they know they have. We help estate agents convert more inquiries by qualifying leads and booking viewings automatically. We help clinics reduce no-shows by confirming appointments automatically. We help online stores reduce support tickets by keeping customers updated. We help businesses convert more leads by replying instantly and following up until they book. That's 5 offers that I've given you right there that you could literally go away to now and offer to a business. Without even creating an automation, I've given you 5 offers which you could sell now. So let's have a look at pricing your offer. Now this shouldn't be included in the outreach message, because your idea of this is once you've outreached to them, you want to get them on a call so you could either show them what you're offering, give a demo, show a testimonial, whatever it is. Then when you're on the call with them, that's where you offer the price. Pricing it correctly is important, and it's the difference between closing a client and not. So how do you price it? You need to either understand by research or on the call how much money they are wasting due to this repetitive task or this manual work, for example. From this, you can then gauge the price of your product on how much time or money or efficiency that the business gains. It's best to go into this meeting with an idea of the price that you're going to give, and you don't want to drop any low by a certain price in your head. You could create a tiered pricing system based off the packages you offer. For example, you may say that you can do this automation for them, it would cost £1,000 and you'll deliver it in 1 month. Or they may want it quicker, in which you can up the price and deliver it in 14 days for double the price, for example. Or you can do it based off the functionality. £1,000 for the base functionality, £2,000 if you integrate it with a CRM, or even £3,000 if you do some other fancy stuff. There's also things like initial setup costs. How much do you want to charge for creating the automation? And then do you want to give them on a monthly retainer to keep it installed in their business and for you to handle any maintenance issues that they may have? You may want to base it on an hourly basis. For example, you know that you're going to create this automation in 3 hours, and how much is your hourly charge? Give that to them and then maybe put a price on top of it for a service. But let's have a look at the benefits then. As part of this offer, you need to target what it would benefit to them. You know the pain point, but you need to reconfirm to them how it will help them. And the success is measured by how you present the value and its relevance to the business. So I've got a few items here which will help you, but does it save them time? Does it save them money? Does it get them more leads? Do they get a better customer experience? Is there fewer errors if it's something to do with spreadsheet entries? Is there a more predictable pipeline? Whatever it is, this is a benefit to the business, and it's your job to decide that. So let's have a look at why you should not worry about creating small automations for businesses. For example, if someone was to approach you and they said you want a chatbot, but you know you can't really charge a lot of money for that, you may want to say, oh, it's £500 for this, and you're going to get demotivated because you want to earn the big money straight away. Well, this is where something really important comes in. If you create a strong relationship with that business and you do a really good job, then you're going to get a load of benefits from that. Future work, referrals, recommendations, or testimonials, or all 4. Just from that one little job. You can have a client which has charged you, for example, £750 to do one thing, and that could lead you to a 10k per month business model just from that one client. This was something I was concerned at the start, because my automation that I first sold was £1,200, which in my head didn't seem a lot. But from that one job, it created more jobs with the same client and actually propelled me to that 10k per month. So you can get one client that will easily lead you to this. So for example, an invoice generation automation, you sell that 20 times to a business at £500 per month. Or an AI receptionist for 10 businesses, that's £1,000 per month. You might want to create a unique automation for 4 businesses at £2,500 per month. Or just 2 clients paying you £5,000 per month. You can see how these different things can quickly propel you to this goal here of 10k. So let's look at how you can find clients. There's plenty of ways to find clients, and if you haven't done this before, then don't worry, because there's plenty of softwares out there to help you with this. You can do things like reaching out to people on LinkedIn and finding people using the search filters on there. You can look at things doing it as face-to-face, for example, conference centres or exhibitions in person. Finding people on Upwork is also a really overlooked method. People are essentially posting jobs on there for AI automations, which you can go and do, whether it's for experience or actually earning a lot of money. You can do warm outreach, which is essentially contact to people that you already know, so you're not just firing a message to someone when you've never spoke to them before. You might have a manager that you've previously worked with and you think something that could help them in their business. You may probably already have his phone number and you're already on a friendship basis, so that makes this outreach really easy. There's certain scrapers on the internet, apps like Apollo or Appify are really useful. And social outreach, which is essentially DMing people through Instagram, TikTok, leaving comments under YouTube videos. There's plenty of ways to do this and you really shouldn't feel scared about it. So let's have a look at who you're trying to contact. Who will be the most suited to deal with you and this operation? And this is very highly linked to the niche that you select. You want to contact decision makers. Why? Because these are the people that are actually going to invest in your service. If you ring a dentist, for example, whenever you ring a dentist, you never actually speak to the practitioner. You always speak to the woman or man who's on the desk. If you were to pose this AI solution to them, two things are going to happen. They're either going to put the phone down on you and say they're not interested, or they'll say they'll leave a message and they'll ring you back in a week. And I'll give you a hint, they won't ring you back. You can think of things like owners, directors, CEOs, and there's many more people that you can think of, but these are the people you want to target because they're essentially going to take the money out and pay you. There's obviously more roles, but you should get the idea. So things like managers, possibly, senior managers, directors, owners, however it may be, these people that control the money will pay you. And again, like I said earlier, some databases that you may want to use, you have Apollo, ZoomInfo, which is really expensive, Uplead, RocketReach, Clay.com. These are different ways of finding clients. Apollo is a database where you can find a long list of leads. I think there's 240 million people or businesses on there. I'm not 100% sure. But what you can also do and link with this is an app called Appify, which you see down here. And this is a scraper which will scrape loads of information about people based off a certain niche and selection filters that you apply. There's also things like Instant Data Scraper, which will help you find businesses on Google Maps and extract all of the data from there. Hopefully by now you're starting to think about how this can all come together and how you can start finding leads. But now let's look at outreach. You've got your long list of leads and now you actually want to reach out to them. And how are you going to do this? Well, this is where you translate your business offer to the businesses. You have your niche, you've created your offer, you may have an example or pilot automation to show them. You've got your leads and now it's time for that outreach. So my tips are this. First, you want to plan up your copy. You want to check if there's spam in it. And there's plenty of websites out there which will help you do this. But essentially, this is really important for emails. If your email has got spam in it and it's detected, then it's a very high chance that your email accounts and that email that you sent is going to get flagged and you could possibly get blocked. This is also a really, really quick way of going into the spam folder automatically on people's inboxes, which means they will never see your emails. Then you want to make sure that it's clean and concise. What I mean by this is that it's not big paragraphs with loads of words and you're telling them that you've created this AI automation for them, because they don't care how you do it, they just want the results. And then finally, you want to make sure there is a clear and clean offer. What I mean by this is that it's punchy and concise. It shouldn't be any longer than a sentence. If they wanted to find out more, they will message you. Read over it, think about it to yourself. Would you read it if you were to receive that? It's something that I stumbled with a lot because I would create long lists of just punchy straight lines and I read over it and I thought, I'm never going to read this. It looks so like spam and it looks like someone just wants money off me straight away. You need to come across in the fact that you want to help this business with the service that you've created. I've got a couple of do's and don'ts down here which will hopefully help you as well. So the do's. You want to lead with the problem and offer. That has got to be one of the first things that they read. Because what is the chances that they're going to read something if it's at the very end? They've got a higher excuse to neglect this email if all of this email... So some do's and don'ts now. You want to lead with the problem or offer. And what I mean by this is your offer or the problem that you're targeting has got to be in that first sort of line after you've introduced yourself. So, hi there, Dave. We help this, do this, buy this. We help X, do Y, buy Z. That way, that is the first thing they read. If you have it at the bottom of this email or your LinkedIn message or SMS message, they're not going to read it because the email's made them confused because they don't know what you're getting at. Then you also want to keep it short because no one wants to read an essay. Remember, you're a business helping another business. Get the problem across, show them the offer and show how you can help. You want to make this specific and include terminology that they are familiar with. What I mean by that is don't overcomplicate things with words that only you know to try and show off. They're not going to want to read that. You also want to follow up with second, third, and maybe even fourth email messages after they don't reply. And what I mean is just friendly reminders to see if they have the email. And you may want to put a bit more of a firmer offer at the end on your last email, which would get them that last bit interested. My advice for this is don't do it days apart. You want to do 2 to 3 days apart between each email. And that's because if you were to send an email to someone on a Friday, for example, that means by the time they come in on a Monday, they've probably received 3 or 4 emails just from you. and they're not going to want to see that. You also want to think about low friction CTAs, and what I mean by that is a call to action. You don't want to sound pushy, or you don't want to say only one spot left, come and join now, or saying this is going to run out soon, because it sounds pushy and it sounds spammy. Now let's have a look at the don'ts. You don't want to open with AI automation. So you don't want to say that you're using really AI, or you've created this AI system. You don't want to say, hi, I provide AI automation, because how many emails are they getting like that? Your job is to stand out amongst the hundreds of emails that they receive. I'm using emails here repeatedly because this is what it most applies to, but it applies for LinkedIn, SMS, warm outreach, whatever it may be. All of this applies. You don't want to mention tools that you're using, because they're not going to know what Zapier or N8N or Make.com is. They might not even know what ChatGPT is. You don't want to write paragraphs, because that's just going to be wordy. They're going to get confused and they're going to want to get off the email or message. You don't want to be vague, because then they're not really going to understand what you're actually offering. And if they aren't the decision maker, you're already obstructed. And this comes back to who you want to target. For example, if you're sending this email to the receptionist, I can give you a pretty good hint that they're not going to do anything with it. And finally, you don't want to oversell. If you do get into this outreach message with them and they're starting to reply to you, and it sounds like they're not really that interested, don't start saying that, oh, we'll do this as well for the same price, or this and this, because essentially they're just probably not interested. And that's fine. Not everyone is going to be interested. Then you want to look at things like follow-up sequences, response handling, and realistic expectations. So let's have a look at the sales call now. And for many people, especially like me, I have never done a sales call before when I first started. And it was really daunting because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know when I got on a sales call with someone how to act or what to say. But essentially, it's not that complicated. You're just having a chat with another person. You're a business owner speaking to another business owner, and you're essentially trying to help them. And by this point, if they are on a sales call, then they're already interested in what you can offer. So yes, it's natural to feel nervous, but you're essentially just trying to help them. It's an extremely valuable skill to have, and you will develop this massively through sales calls. You may think straight away like, oh, I need to hire someone to do the sales calls for me because I don't want to do it. Which, if you have the capital to invest and you're really set on not doing the sales call yourself, then that's fine. But this is really important if you do it. You're going to develop loads of skills. And the worst thing that happens, if someone says no, then you're going to get more experience from it, or you're going to learn a new pain point. For example, they might say, oh, we're not actually struggling with that. It's more about this that we're struggling with. Yes, you might be able to adapt your sales call to help them, but worst case is you then build an automation and go back to approach them to say, look, I've built this might help you. There's no real bad aspects that come out with sales calls. And the purpose of this is to close the sale. So what you should ask, it should be really friendly, and you should want to ask discovery questions about that business. You want to be really interested in what they do and how you can help. So what bottlenecks do they currently have in the business? Have they actually tried automation before? What costs they're incurring currently from this? How much time are they using from Debbie doing all these repetitive tasks? Then you want to demonstrate the value. So what you've done for them. Can you show them a live demonstration for 30 seconds to show how they can get from point A to point B in less than 10 seconds? Is there any testimonials? Now, I appreciate this is quite hard at the start when you're a beginner, but have you created something for your mum before, which she's able to do? Or can you ask a friend to give a testimonial for them after you've given them an automation that they might have used? Obviously, this is hard when you haven't spoken to businesses, but this is where showing things like live automations could be really helpful. And then a before and after. Now this is really important because you can't show testimonials. So can you see what happens before? For example, they're wasting 10 hours every week doing this automation, doing this repetitive task, and you can create an automation which does it in 10 seconds on autopilot, and the woman that was doing that before can now do something else that is more important. And then finally, handling objections. So if someone says it's too expensive, then do a return of investment breakdown. And what I mean by this is essentially breaking down what your automation is doing and what it's going to do for them. That's their return of investment. If they say something like it's too complicated, then just do a really simple explanation. This is what you should have done in the first place, but if it does come round to it, really break it down to the bare bones of what you are doing for them. And then finally, something like, I'm not sure it will work in my business, offer a pilot or a trial, or say you'll do this for 7 days within their business, and if it doesn't work, then it's no cost to them. But if you do offer it for them for 7 days, they're going to really see quickly how important it is, and they're going to be like, oh, I can't live without this anymore. And then finally, some tips. This is just a conversation between someone who has an interest in using AI and how this can help. We spoke about this already, but it's just a friendly conversation. The idea is to actually understand their problem and what you can do or help. Then you want to go in with a loose plan of the questions. The idea is to actually understand their problem and how you can help. They're probably going to give you more tips or more information about what their issue is. Also go into this with a loose plan of the questions you want to ask, the price point you want to go for, and then some non-negotiables. What I mean by non-negotiables is setting a lower price limit. On a call, someone might say to you, oh, I don't want to do it for 2,000, but could we do 1,500 instead? If you in your head before that call said you're not going any lower than 1,800, then just say no. It's easy to say on the sales call because it's emotional to be like, oh yeah, we'll do this for you, no issue. But really think about what you want to get out of it and if it's worth your time. And finally, you want to plan out the next steps in your mind. So have an idea of what you're going to do next to them. If you take the payment on the sales call, which we'll go into, if you take the payment on the sales call, you want to be able to say to them what the next steps is. If they've just sent you a payment of £5,000, for example, then they're going to want to know pretty quickly how you're going to do this next. Then this is just really simple. Say, you're going to book a call with them next week, or you're going to present a roadmap to them, or a pilot trial in the next week. Something like that, which is going to give them confidence that they're interested and that they know what you're doing. Then getting paid. So Stripe is an online payment platform which can take payments and manage subscriptions. You can tailor payments to the screen to suit your business and clients, which makes it really representable for them. It looks and feels more professional than asking for a bank transfer, for example. If you're closing a deal for £5,000, for example, and you send them your account number and sort code, it's going to feel a bit weird. And also, as they're filling out the details of your account number and sort code, they might be starting to have second thoughts. So you want a really streamlined process of somewhere where you can just send the payment link and they will do it for you. They'll have the choice of doing Apple Pay or card details or Klarna, whatever it may be. You want to make this really simple for them and minimize the obstructions of getting your payment. For larger projects, it may be more suitable to do a payment split based off milestones. For example, if your project is going to take 3 months, you may want to say once it's 25% done, we'll have the first payment, and then 50% done, we'll have the second payment, and then the full payment when it's fully finished. That way, they're feeling a bit of guarantee, and you're also getting money as you go along. If you price based on performance and results, you need to be confident that what you have offered is more than doable. For example, if you said to a company that you can get them 10 clients in a week, but that niche is super yachts, for example, that's going to be really hard to get qualified leads, because how are you going to do that? How are you going to contact these billionaires that are going to want to purchase a yacht within a week? So just think about, if you are doing it based on performance or results, having in mind the process that you can do and be sure that you can actually do it for them. Now we're going to look at a bit of building your business. And what I mean by this is the sort of admin side of it. And this is for credibility and trust. So don't go down the rabbit hole like I did of making the website perfect and spending days on it. You want simple branding and you don't want to overthink it. Essentially, your brand or your business is just for somewhere where a person can go to make sure you're real. Yes, you don't want the website to be really janky and it look really poor, but it doesn't have to have flying colours and links everywhere. It just has to show them that you are real. On this website, you want a couple of things. You want it to be simple and easy to navigate. You maybe want a testimonial or a short VSL, which is essentially a video of what you do, maybe an introduction and how you do business for people. You want a calendar link, so you can do this on either cal.com or Calendly. And this is essentially somewhere which can book them a call. So if they've seen your video on YouTube or TikTok or email and they then click on your website, you then want to have a link for them to book a call with you. You want to make this process really flowy so that they know exactly what to do. And of course, you want to have at the top somewhere what you do and what you offer to these businesses. Now, for those that haven't created businesses before, I'd recommend something like Lovable, which I have got a subscription to down below if you want to get some money off your price. But Lovable is super simple to use, and you can create websites and landing pages within 15 minutes for your business. This image that you see here is made on Lovable, and essentially what Lovable is an AI prompted website building tool. So you don't need to know how to build websites, you don't have to pay someone a lot of money to build it for you. You can essentially start off with a template or start off from scratch and type to the AI what you want to achieve. You can feed it links to your Calendly or add a link for your video, and it will input this into there. A lot of these websites that you'll see nowadays are made with Lovable. There is also other websites which you can use if you want to, but I've only ever used Lovable and it's what I work best with. You also want to think about the business admin like a relevant email. You don't have to buy an email domain, but obviously it would give a bit more credibility. As long as it says something about you and it's not your email that you created when you were 13 years old, then it's more than fine. You want a suitable LinkedIn if you're going to use it. So if you're going to be posting on LinkedIn or reaching out to people on LinkedIn, you want to make sure your profile's up to date. You want to make sure your business is included. You've got a suitable profile picture. Just nothing that will stop them from buying from you. You don't want them to think, oh, he's got a profile picture of when he was playing football, or his bio doesn't really give much away. You just want to make it really simple and easy for them to contact you. Then things like email signatures. If you're doing email marketing, create a small signature at the end that has included your business logo. So instead of just saying kind regards Dave, has kind regards Dave, your business name, your contact info, anything that helps them build more trust with you. And you also want consistent brand colours. You'll be surprised at how much businesses recognise about you based on your colours. My suggestion would be pick no more than 3 colours to go for your business, and then that makes it really simple and easy to identify. Now we're going to look at actually delivering the work. This is setting the structure. So once you've agreed on the project that you're doing with a business, you want to think about setting the structure. And what I mean by this is how your project is going to look from start to finish. This business has just sent you £5,000 to do the automation, for example. Now they're going to want some sort of clear roadmap or clear plan of what you're going to do and how you're going to achieve it. So you're going to have to give them information about the testing that you're going to do on this AI. You're going to have to give something like meeting structures. For example, we'll meet once a week to update you on progress. That comes into progress updates. Are you going to take their WhatsApp, for example, for easy communication? Also, expectation management. As you're doing this work, make sure you control their expectations. They may also say, oh, could we add this into the automation? When realistically, if it's going to add another £1,000 onto it and you're going to do it for free, then you need to control their expectations. Things like training. What are you going to offer them to get up to speed with the automation that you've built if they have to use it at any point? Sort of ongoing support. And this is where things like retainers come into play. Then you have things like documentation. So what you're going to do for this business that will hand over everything you've done and tell them everything that they need to know about what you've built for them. Talking about expectation management now, I think this is something that gets really overlooked when you create AI automations for people, because it's where you can start creating holes for yourself. Now, you don't want to overpromise to try and close the deal. This applies both throughout the project and while you're on the sales call, because this will soon burn bridges, lose trust, and risk poor referrals and the future of what you do for businesses. So ensure you're both aligned on what you can be achieved and how that can be done. Finally, some common mistakes to avoid them. Don't overcomplicate automations. Keep these really simple. When you start off, don't get down the rabbit hole of creating 50 automations before you start reaching out. You want to make this as simple as you can for yourself, because at the end of the day, creating automations isn't going to get you business. Selling the automations is what gets you business. Mistake number 2, not validating something before building. So this is essentially a waste of time. Don't come up with this offer if you've never really sort of built it and you're never really sure if this will actually work. Number 3, underpricing. So position you as low value. Remember how important this skill is that you've learned and how in demand it is by businesses. Don't underprice it just to think that you will get the sale. It's better to price high and learn through a couple of sales calls that it's too high rather than pricing low, because you're going to get demotivated while you do this and you're going to be constantly thinking in your head, oh, I should have priced this for £2,000 more. Number 4, not documenting your work. Now, I didn't really think this was important, but it is, because clients do really want to see what's going on at times, especially at the end of the product. It's good to show them what you've done. Number 5, promise what you can deliver. Number 6, not following up with leads. What I mean by this is that you can leave a lot of money on the table just because you haven't given them a follow-up message, whether that's through your emails or through your LinkedIn SMS, whatever it may be, following up is really important. So hopefully that's been useful for you and you've started to understand a bit about AI automation, what it is and how you can earn real money online with this. So here is your next steps. Number 1, pick your niche. Pick the business sector that you're going to target. Number 2, create the offer that you're going to do. So you know the pain points of that niche, now bring it together and create the offer of how you're going to solve this pain point. Number 3, your business admin. Don't spend any longer than an hour doing this, and that means your email, your website, and your domain. Don't spend any longer than an hour. Number 4 is find the leads. Number 5 is outreach with the offer that you've created. 6, book the calls, and 7, deploy this automation. Hopefully this roadmap has given you a really good idea of what AI automation is and how you can start earning money online with it and sell to businesses. If you do want to learn more about this, I offer a program which will be in the top link of the description, and it will give you really in-depth and detailed support, and we'll go in further into things like what you can sell to businesses, how you can get your first client, the certain ways of doing lead automation, and how you can outreach to businesses. There's plenty of content in there. It's over 12 modules and it's always growing, over 4 hours worth of content, and it's really useful to the people that have been using it already. Hopefully I'll see you in there. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and see you.